All right.
By the military-industrial complex.
It could be seen to move violently forward, violently forward, violently forward.
I'm just a patsy. Let's win there.
I said this once or twice, but it bears repeating. If you like your current insurance, you will keep your current insurance.
When you think about the Army and the Navy and the missions they run to protect the world, they run on SAC.
You have done a really spectacular job. I guess pretty much everybody at this table is your customer, so
Exactly.
that's not so bad.
Exactly.
I want to congratulate
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
And we're back. God, it's automatic and it works just great. George, we're at some undisclosed location.
Well, that makes me feel better, Peter, because if it was disclosed, you probably wouldn't be alive. So I'm happy for both you and Jessica to be happy and healthy right now.
Well, gee, thanks. I don't want to go too deep into the Danny Castellero country, you know, with this whole thing. But I think, I don't know. So just to catch everybody up, Jessica and I, it's our 1 week anniversary of our house burning down tonight. At this time, 7 days ago, we were meeting with George Webb at a small hotel in Beverly Hills. And we didn't know yet that our house was on fire at that time, but it was on fire at that time. We didn't know that the fire department was making no attempt to stop the fire from burning our house down. I didn't find that out until yesterday, actually. When you know, that would be a good thing to find, that that video from that guy who saved his house, and I may have it.
Oh yeah.
I may have it bookmarked. I'm sorry, we're a little disorganized. So our house burned down, and then I posted some pictures and I posted some video about it, and the fans of the show have been super supportive. And so first and foremost, we want to thank everybody who's been supporting us out there. We sincerely appreciate it. And we're trying to thank everybody as much as possible on Buy Me a Coffee, which is the main vehicle where people have been supporting us. And If I haven't gotten back to you, or we haven't gotten back to you on Buy Me a Coffee, it's only because there's so many of them. We haven't had time. I'm doing them as fast as I possibly can. In the meantime, I've been trying to do research on who I think did this, because I think that this guy I met like 7 or 8 years ago, his name was George Webb. And George Webb said, it's all in the metadata. It's all in the metadata. And 3,000 years ago, this guy named Parmenides said, you have to look at what is. Don't listen to the stories. You just got to look at what is. And so I've been filtering out all of it's homeless people, it's electrical wires, it's what are the other ones? Directed energy weapons, even the drone things that researchers have been going with, George, that you were talking about the other day. There were 70-mile-an-hour winds when we left. And when we were taking videos in the morning, there were like 70-mile-an-hour winds. And so I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure that Palmer Luckey probably makes drones that can handle 70-mile-an-hour gusts. And drones probably can handle 70-mile-an-hour gusts much better than helicopters. But I don't know enough about drones to know that. So that would be my first reason why I would kind of. And so I'm looking at everything not as a yes or no, but a probabilistically, right? So I know.
Your voice, rest your voice for 1 second.
Right.
And I'm just going to say on Buy Me a Coffee, thank you to everyone. You don't know how living out of a car is when you have your life destroyed, and it allowed Peter and Jessica to get out and get some of the stuff hopefully stored so they're not living completely out of their trunk. And that helps. I'm just telling everybody, it helps morally, it helps just spiritually, it helps just letting everybody know that you're not alone. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. And if you can buy 5 coffees for these folks, or 10, or whatever you can afford, they'll really, really appreciate it, even if they don't get back to you. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, I wanted to say, and even though they are up and at 'em, you can imagine the stress, because Peter didn't lose just his house, but his daughter's house as well. So he's got to worry about his daughter. And his brother also is homeless from this, living not far from the reservoir. So all those things going on. Now, overlay on top of this, here are the 2 dukes telling us about the fire hazard for the last 3 years, telling us, hey, this Berggruen, woke guy, this homeless billionaire who lives in the old mansion from the Hearst Castle days, it's the Hearst Mansion in Beverly Hills.
That was news to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's living over there. He's not homeless. He's living in Hearst Mansion. So he has been pushing all these woke WEF policies. He also, though, is, pushing these policies, but then he breaks his own rules to put in his massive new Getty-like museum in a place that's supposed to be a part of the conservancy that you can't build, right? So he's a walking, talking contradiction and hypocritical monster. Plus, he's involved with all these CIA guys. And Peter tells me this, I think it's 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And he says, you should look into this guy named Nicholas Berggruen. And what's he doing? He's got this other thing in Peking. He seems like he's got this kind of back channel to Beijing. And we had, and that's where I'll throw it back to you to save your voice a little bit, Peter. But that's when we started having these charrettes in news gathering events in Los Angeles to look into this guy. And we joked about it a couple of times, but
we didn't know that he was going to burn down where we were having the meetings.
We were joking, like, well, there's Nicholas Berggruen up there at the Getty. He probably, good thing he's, the helicopters are coming today. And I was there with you guys a couple of times, 2 or 3 times during helicopter fire brigades right at the bottom of your canyon. So I'll throw it back to you, Peter.
So anyway, yeah, here's the thing. We're dealing with means, motive, and opportunity. And what most people don't do And again, I probably have to do a hat tip to Kathy O'Brien at this point, because one of the breakthroughs that I had when I read Kathy O'Brien's Transformation of America is that people don't have any kind of idea of the machinations of sociopaths. They don't understand how they think of us like ants, how they don't think of human beings as anything but kind of inconveniences. And so when you start to look at something like that fire, you can't think. I'm sorry, I thought I was sharing something that I wasn't sharing. I'll go back to this for a second. The machinations, you can't. It's impossible. Like, I want to talk to a Los Angeles Fire Department arson investigator, Frank, or anybody out there. If you can put me in touch with a Los Angeles Fire Department arson investigator, there isn't an arson investigator on the Los Angeles Fire Department who thinks that there's an arson out there who wants to burn down the entire Pacific Palisades to make the real estate available for the city of Los Angeles to redevelop. I believe that those guys, that's not the way they think. They think about sociopaths. They think about somebody who's a firebug because he gets some kind of emotional or adulation out of starting a fire. They don't think about starting fires in such a way that it burns down an entire map. Let me show you something from my Twitter. Hang on, I'll start with the Twitter profile, and then I have to change the sharing to this. Share this tab instead, and then I have to go into StreamYard and I have to share it. I'm sharing it, and now I'll go back to that tab if I can find it. I think it's Twitter. Oh, it's right here because it's got a little TV thing on it. I tweeted this out earlier today. I'll go to my profile, then I'll find it. I tweeted this out, and here we go. I tweeted this out. Okay, so suppose Gavin Newsom, Nicholas Berggruen, and the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy wanted to seize a lot of land through eminent domain and reallocate it to, quote unquote, save nature from evil humans and use it as the basis for a smart city. In that case, there might be a big need. There might need to be a big fire on this map's light gray parts. So I don't know if this blows this up for you. Did it blow up?
Perfect.
Okay. So the light gray areas of this map are exactly all the places that burned. Okay. And Nicholas Berggruen's, can you see my mouse? Probably not.
Yeah, I can see it up there in the right-hand corner. Yep.
Yeah. So where it says J. Paul Getty Museum and Mount St. Mary's. Okay. That's where Nicholas Berggruen's Berggruen Institute is going to be. And they call it a monastery. It's going to be a think tank for big thinkers. And let me tell you, I've read some of Nicholas Berggruen's stuff. He's a crackpot. Okay. He's a theosophist. He's like Jordan Peterson. He's full of bafflegab. He makes these like sweeping, airy statements that have no context to them, or they're perfect hypnotic suggestions for people who don't think. And it's kind of like he reminds me of Stuart Smalley on Saturday Night Live, Deep Thoughts. Anyway, what do you need, babe? Anyway, the point is that if you wanted to, the green part of this map is the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. Now, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy was created by Jerry Brown in 1980, I believe. And if I go to here, let me see, share this tab instead. Then I can find somewhere. Oh yeah, here we go. Jerry Brown and Nick Berggruen, they're good buddies. They made a video together. If you go to the Berggruen Institute page, there's a, I might be able to show the Jerry Brown video, but Jerry Brown's good friends with Nick there. So I'm going to go back to my Twitter here. I'll close this one. and I'll open this one, share this tab. And then, okay, so I'm going to go back. So the thing that's interesting is that if you look at this map, and I gave you a link so that you can actually download the big one, because this is just kind of a screenshot. So I've got sources. If people want to go and do this stuff, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to empower as many researchers as possible, because I'm trying to find a home and I'm trying to put my life back together at the same time that I'm doing this research. So Frau Hodel out there in Germany, Nicholas Berggrun's mother was a German actress. I think her name was Mosi. I haven't put it on my chart yet, but she's been doing some research out there on that. So there's, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying, and I'll show you when I get back to the chart. You want to go back to the StreamYard? Yeah. All right. Hang on a second. We're back on StreamYard. Wait, so you can see the chat. So you can see the chat. All right.
And just
so
take a break. Just give your voice a rest, Peter.
All
And
right.
you have some water, I hope. Yeah. Go back if you want to go back to the big, or you can make this bigger.
Okay.
I want to say, I just want to follow up with Peter saying when he started to talk about Berggruen, he started talking about this nature conservancy idea, and this whole idea of a controlled burn kind of started entering into our lexicon, that they might do this in order to achieve these goals, whatever they had planned for a smart Los Angeles in 2028, not even the Olympics. We didn't even know at that time that they had the Olympics. But we brought people here and right to the end here to the Bluff who researched this, 10, 12 people at a time for a week.
Right. The Bluffs are right here. So this is where we had all of our meetings and charrettes and barbecues right here.
And Lady Jessica and Peter were good enough to host all of these. This became kind of our unofficial home of citizen journalism on the West Coast. And that has also been displaced. And in addition to Jessica and Peter being displaced, citizen journalism has been displaced on the West Coast as well. So I want to give you a chance to kind of catch up, Peter, and rest your throat and get a little bit of water, but go ahead.
Again, I'm just going from the metadata. George, look, this goes from the Getty to the Getty. It goes from the Getty Villa to the Getty Museum. That, if you drew a line from that to that, and then you go, this is the old, what's his name from Sandhurst? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm going to go to the next tweet. The next tweet is
you mean Aga Khan? Did you mean Aga?
No, so here's the thing that's important is that you can overlay all of these houses are burned. Can you see my mouse?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Okay, so all these houses are actually about 3/4 of the houses in this M-shaped area. This is called the I can't remember what, Sunset Mesa. Okay. Right here is called the Amalfi Coast right here, which is interesting because if you read Cynthia Chung's last 2 or 3 posts, she talks a lot about how the oligarchs that controlled Rome and Venice used to hang out in Amalfi and Capri, the Apollo cult. And Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams live on Amalfi. And the kind of bookmarking street next to Amalfi is Capri. And that's where Ben Affleck and Matt Damon live. And between Amalfi and Capri is where Max Horkheimer, who created critical theory, that's where he lived. Anyway, I digress.
And Tom Hanks. And for those who don't know, Amalfi and Capri are 2 small islands off of where the Roman emperors used to go to hide when there was a revolt, so that they could kind of like wait it out to see if the revolution was going to happen or not.
And by the way, Spielberg and Hanks' houses did not burn because they, like James Cameron and other people, they had private fire departments.
Right.
And Rick Caruso, his village did not burn. Okay.
I saw you had a lot of fire. How did he have all those fire trucks there? But anyway, well, that's another story. Go ahead.
Anyway, so on this, if you compare what burned on this map to the gray areas, which are the parts of the neighborhood that do not belong to the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, okay, then this looks like a controlled burn. Okay. And the fact that these fire department, did you find that video? Did you text me the guy from my neighborhood?
Mhm.
So I ran into this guy, and is it on text messages?
Text, yeah.
All right, hang on. Yeah,
I
perfect.
heard about this. This is a guy who lived on Sunset and he saved his house.
No, he lived in the middle of my street.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
And
Oh,
when
wow.
I was shooting
Third father,
hang on a second.
1960, and
Oh, share it. We're seeing the
I'm
old
trying.
man.
Hang
There's a
on,
lot
I
of
gotta
memories
make it
here.
stop, and it won't.
and I think I owed it to them as well to try my best to.
Okay. Let me. Where did this go? Okay, it opened it in Twitter, which I hate. Can you still hear me, George?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I wanted it to open the web page because then I could manage it.
Breaking news as we're talking here. This cat lady says Newsom just signed an executive order to prevent real estate speculators from coming in. I don't know what that means, but I'm guessing they're offering money to people who have been burned out of their house.
He talked about that, but
I mean, yeah, because
He
he's
is
already.
dancing, actually,
You know
when he was
why?
talking
Yeah,
about it.
I'll get to that in a second. But I think that I have my own.
Because I thought I heard him talking about the opposite. He was talking about the governor of Hawaii and how he let speculators into Maui after Lahaina burned, and I thought he was talking about the same thing for you guys. So,
all right. So apparently Breitbart published this, and okay, where's Twitter now? Where's X? I can't. It's giving me a message, and I can't see my menu. Where is X? There. Oh, it's all the way down here. I hate this. Okay. Okay. This is perfect now. What do you see on StreamYard? Is StreamYard still here? Did I accidentally close it?
Well, the camera's on.
The camera.
Right there. George is here.
Okay.
I can still see the comments. Everything's fine. Yeah.
Okay, great. Just if I ask a question, it's because I want to know. All right. So you can see Twitter.
I'm sorry, I was muted for a second. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna hear watch again. I met this guy when I was there, and I realized when I watched this video that I should have interviewed him, but I think he and I were both in shock when I met him.
I lived here my whole life, so there's a lot of memories here, and I think I owed it to them as well to try my best to save it. But some things in life are worth fighting for. I mean, if I were to lose this house, it would be very difficult to afford to be able to build a new house, to pay the enormous property taxes they have here. What would I do? When I was out here hosing the house down and getting ready, and when the houses started to burn, I didn't see one single fire truck out here at all. Zero. If they had some fire trucks, just put a squirt here, a squirt there, and kept an eye on things, all these houses would be here now. I'm telling you right now, I saw with my own eyeballs. All these houses, the houses behind me, they're all gone. They started with one little spark, one little small fire. They just squirted those out, had a few people out there. They'd all be here now. I did what I needed to do. I did what I wanted to do. I did what I thought I could do. And that's what I did.
So I met that guy.
Be hard to hear. That has to be hard to hear for people who live on that street.
Right. I met that guy. So Jessica, you've seen the video. If you haven't seen the video, go to the Duke Report. It's on the top of the DukeReport.com. Just click on the video and you watch the video. And it's me when we're about to leave. And then when we go back. And the reason that we were able to go back was because I had press plates. I am media, and I have license plates on my car that say that I'm media, and I have a media pass, and I have a little yellow and white blinky thing that I put on my dashboard that looks really official, and that's the reason I put it up there. And boom, right past the police barricades, no problem. And we drove to the house, and the house is gone. And you guys can all watch that in the video, but then I was running around shooting pictures. And when I was shooting pictures, this guy walked up to me and I said, he said, did you live here? And I said, yes, I live right there. I pointed to my house. And he goes, I lived here too. And I said, really? I said, did you lose your house? And he said, no, I saved it. And I think I was probably the first person he talked to. I'm guessing, maybe if he talked to a fireman. But I said, how did you do that? And he said, I just stayed. He had a swimming pool. And my guess is that he had a pump. And so he could pump water out of a swimming pool. And that's how he saved his house. Not everybody has a swimming pool, but a bunch of people died. I can imagine that if you don't have a respirator, right? If you don't have some kind of like protection, even there's more to that story, I think.
Yeah, he must have been prepping in some way. Otherwise, because I was just down the mountain and you could barely breathe, and plus all the toxic stuff burning. But
he said he had been waiting for it for 25 years.
Oh, he'd been waiting for the fire for 25 years. Yeah. Well, it's amazing somebody with a garden hose, though. That's what I saw. I didn't see a big pumper truck, 4-inch fire hose.
No, he had a garden hose.
I know. And look at Caruso had the fire truck type, private fire truck, and everything was fine with Caruso Village. So you wonder, it sounds like what he's saying is true, that all you would have needed is a pumper truck going up and down the street, just spraying each side.
They didn't fight the fire.
They didn't.
They didn't fight the fire.
George Webb said, what's the metadata? The metadata is they didn't fight the fire.
They didn't fight the
Right.
Okay. So George and I both want you, if you want to contact me, great. If you want to contact George Webb, great. We want to hear from whistleblower firefighters, because I don't believe that anybody becomes a firefighter because they don't want to fight fires. Okay. And when I pulled up to Palisades Drive and Palisades Circle, and I saw 4 fire engines sitting at the corner of Palisades Drive and Palisades Circle, while my ex-wife and brother's condominiums were about to catch on fire, but they hadn't caught on fire yet, and they weren't doing anything, and they could have gotten shovels out and put out the fires, because at the Upper Woodies, at least, they cleared all of the brush 40 feet down the hillside from the condos. I have video. I'll show. I just remembered. I have the video.
People are asking, Peter, in the comments, they're asking, how did Caruso get water pressure at the fire hydrants? And Caruso had his private pumper trucks, is what I saw. I didn't see him locking into the fire hydrants, but if he did, there's 3 1 million gallon. They're not the 117 million gallon, the San Ynez reservoir, but there's 3 1 million gallon at 1,000 feet and 800 feet and 700 feet. So he could have used some of that until it all ran out.
He built that. He said that was the most expensive shopping center that he's ever built, and that shopping center is a postage stamp compared to the Grove that he built on Fairfax in Midtown. As far as square footage, it's like 1/10 of the size of the Grove, and it cost more than the Grove to build. So who knows? Maybe there's a cistern under there. I heard that he foamed the place. I don't know what the truth is. I've heard a lot of stories. I wasn't there.
I've seen a video of him. I've seen a video of it. Somebody went in and they were spraying hoses. I didn't see any foam.
Okay.
And they had like pumper trucks. There was like 4 pumper trucks. That's what I saw in the video.
Well, right. All I know is that when we came up from the next morning at Chautauqua and Sunset, it was flooded. The street was flooded. Something happened there.
Well, I think it was flooded because the street had sunk. So when we got to the top of Sunset heading west at Chautauqua, we went into 24 inches of water. If you had a Prius, you weren't going to make it across the water. We were driving my SUV.
But the Ralph's was burned down right there, right?
Yep.
It wasn't on fire when we left, and in fact, they had a bunch of emergency vehicles in the Ralph parking lot when we left.
They let it go.
They let it go. They let the
Wow.
church go. They let
it all go.
they let that town
Schools?
burn. What?
Schools?
Everything.
The schools? The
Yeah.
schools?
Everything that would burn got burned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little schoolhouse part, the oldest schoolhouse in the Palisades is Palisades Elementary. The original building that was the one-room schoolhouse, that made it. The rest of the school burned to the ground, the auditorium. And
The one on De La Paz or the one on Swarthmore?
Via de La Paz. The one on
Via de
Swarthmore,
La Paz.
the
Yeah.
one on Swarthmore is gone too.
Oh, wow.
And,
Okay.
and the one on La Cruz is gone too. Seven Arrows, that's gone. The library is gone. The YMCA, the building that I got pizza in, Flower Pizza.
Right.
That building was not on fire until when we left, and the owner of the building was
in the morning, like they.
Oh, it wasn't there. It was
that building was still standing in the morning when we came back.
Oh, it had just burned down.
It was still there. The firefighters. That was when you ran off and were. Anyway, the firefighters didn't have water. They hooked up to the hydrant. They had no water. They unhooked it. Like.
Well, I think, Peter, I just want to give people an update of, we had all these people come in. Frau Hodel came from Germany. We had people come from Washington, state of Washington, Oregon, all over the country, people from Michigan, etc. And we went to the Berggruen Institute, which was down near the old LA Times building downtown in Chinatown.
Yeah, he owns. I don't know if he owns the building or not, but the Berggruen Institute offices are in the Bradbury building, which is where they shot Blade Runner.
We did a film there. We did an on-site there, and it is like you're saying, Peter. It is a bunch of gobbledygook. Praying to every possible, God they can, and every artist they can, and every poem they can, and every, picture of us that anybody ever finger painted of the sun. But there's something very much different going on at the lower level, which is there is this big WEF wokeness, and there is this big connection to China. And I don't know if it's all going to be China, Communist Party members up there in the
I think it's oligarchs. I don't know. People keep going, oh, that's CCP, and it's like to me the CCP is probably the same as our government. Those are the puppets. That's not those are not actually the people who are in control of things. I mean, assuming that Xing, or what's his name, Xi or
Jinping, yeah.
Assuming that Xi or Putin are in charge is like assuming Trump is in charge. Let's see if Trump is in charge. Okay. I think that we've got about a month to figure out whether or not Trump's in charge. And my guess is that he's going to come back and he's going to pitch Build Back Better and building a smart city. And, he's going to try to put his, World Wrestling Federation spin on it. But, somebody asked the right question, which is, who are the quadrillionaires?
Well, I think you mean those are governments. I know you tweeted out everybody's watching the billionaires when we should be thinking about what are the trillionaires and quadrillionaires doing. I think you were saying the City of London. I think you were referring to, and some other big.
City of London, not Westminster. People think Westminster is in charge. Westminster is not in charge. City of London is in charge. Westminster is there for you to hang them. Okay. When things go wrong, the City of London wants you to go and blame whoever's in Westminster. Okay. Because then they can keep doing what they're doing. Same thing happens in the United States. I don't know what happens in China, but I don't assume that governments are doing anything except working for oligarchs and then pretending to work for us.
I think you'd have a lot of people agreeing. Let me suggest this, Peter. Let's just time out on the news of this whole thing, and can you just walk us through looking forward now? You're in a hotel, you're in the South Bay, away from the fire and the flames. Can you just kind of walk us through what your plan is in the next coming days and weeks to kind of get some semblance of normalcy back to your life?
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to answer one question before this.
Sure.
Okay. were the 70-mile-an-hour winds, 100-mile-an-hour winds natural or modified? I've lived in California my entire life. I've lived in or close to the Santa Monica Mountains my entire life. Okay. Every once in a while, you get a wind event like this. Okay. And the thing that I don't like about it is that I believe that if you look at the Berggruen Institute's plan for the future for California, I believe that they've been planning this for 10 years, at least. Okay. And what they've been doing is they've been waiting for the right weather event. Now, if you know enough about the history of weather cycles and things like that, you can be ready and be prepared for this stuff, and Mother Nature can take care of it. And if you want to create as much confusion as possible, then what you do is you start spreading stories about directed energy weapons or drones or whatever it is. I think it's much more likely. And again, I don't like Occam's razor because people use it as an axiomatic truth. And I think if probabilistically, there is a video of a guy. Did we find the video of the guy getting captured? That's the one I was looking for. There was a guy who got tackled at the top of Lockman or the top of Palisades Drive with a blowtorch. And he was running out there with a blowtorch. That makes a lot more sense to me. If you've got a dozen 17-year-old MS-13 kids, or maybe it wouldn't. Here's the perfect scenario would be if they were Iranians that came in over the Mexican border. That would fit the narrative perfectly, okay? Because they want to start World War III over in Iran. So if you take the richest people on the west side of Los Angeles and you burn all their houses down, and then you blame it on Muslims, then that's a great story. So this guy had dark brown skin. I don't know anything about him. There's one video that we're looking for. Maybe somebody in the chat can find it, give us a link. But there's 3 guys in the Palisades who tackled this guy. Supposedly got arrested. LAPD took him away, and then they're holding him on some illegal entry charge because they didn't want to charge him yet. I don't know what the real story is. And maybe somebody in the chat can find out, or maybe somebody who follows us can find out what the status on that guy is. Anyway, just to answer this guy's, yes, every once in a while there's winds like that. Okay. It doesn't happen every year, but every 10 years it can get crazy like that. And I think that the meteorology, they figured it out. They knew this was going to happen, and they sent a dozen or 2 dozen guys. Maybe they were on electric bikes. Maybe they were coming over the Backbone Trail, because there's all kinds of trails in the Santa Monica Mountains there. You could light a fire and be gone. There is video of guys who are at the top of the Highlands when the fire started, and they're running away. But you don't see, they didn't stay there and shoot what was going on because they were running for their lives, or at least it looked like they were running for their lives. And again, that might be a counterintelligence video. So we have to be really careful right now about what we swallow. We have to take a giant step back and use the George Webb method. What's the metadata? Use the Parmenides method. What is it that we actually know? Okay, and then we have to go from there. Okay, so that was a long answer.
Okay.
No, good answer. And I think there was even people who were hiking on behalf of the Berggruen Institute that tweeted out a very small fire. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You took a picture of and you didn't call the fire department. You took a picture though, and tweeted it out. I'll get that to you, Peter. But just to get back to my other question, unless there's other ones you want to answer, what's the daily plan from here on out?
We have this place for a week. We have another place farther south for a week. And we're just taking it one day at a time. Today, we bought suitcases and underwear. Babe, I need some more water.
Sure. Yep.
Sorry. We bought suitcases and underwear, and we're organizing our stuff. And I'm looking for a box to put on the top of my truck to fit on my rack, to put the stuff that we don't need every day. And then when I'm not doing this research, we have spreadsheets. I'm fully insured. which means that I'm only half fucked. I lost every negative and every print of every photograph that I ever took. I lost all my wide lux and Sharon Stone. I have really good scans of all those things, but all the originals are gone. What else? There are a bunch of books. Like, you've seen my books. Lost 1,000 books. Many of those books are, you can't get digital copies of them. And anyway, so we're doing that. What are we doing?
Are you getting a storage unit somewhere where you can kind of have some
We don't
place?
have that much stuff to store. We were looking at sailboats. We're looking at buying a boat and living like Don Johnson.
Well, what would be wrong?
Because
what would be wrong with renting a boat for a month, and just kind of just sitting on the water?
Showers.
But a lot of those places have,
if it's next to a yacht club, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out. Here's the thing. We've turned it over to Jesus, and we're taking it one day at a time, and we're going to see what presents itself to us. Our supporters have been incredibly kind, and people will call me up every day and say, "Hey, I've got a place over here and a room over there," and it doesn't always fit, what our plans are. But we have another week, and then we got 2 credits from Airbnb, and we used one. I'm going to try to. Somebody said make a list of books.
Oh, depressing.
It's easier for me than her because many of the books are on the book list of the Duke Report. So
yeah,
I've already made the list. That part is good. What else?
I think most people might not understand, having owned a sailboat, a 26-footer, you cannot shower on a sailboat. And even if you get into a 35-footer, you can't. Get into the 56 or, above, then you have a shower. But it's even for Peter's height. No, you need to have an onshore capability. Yeah. I mean, Peter's not short. He's 5'9", 5'8", something like that.
I was 5'9" once, but I'm now 5'7", and I was determined not to shrink. But that, gravity sucks.
Yeah, fire and rain, exactly as somebody's saying. I think just from a point of view, Aaron Adler offered the place in Michigan. Thank you for all the wonderful.
I'm asking Bill Pulte to give me a house. And then
yeah. Well, and understand that Peter's family's in Los Angeles and his daughter, especially.
That's the whole thing. My daughter is here, and it's like, and she's homeless now too. So I kind of want to be around to at least get her to the point where she's flying straight and level.
Yeah. This is traumatic. We need.
And she's the only one. My daughter just got the most fantastic job. She's the studio engineer for Brandy Melville, which is a dream job. And I don't want her to not do that job. So she needs to be able to live close to where she's working, and the Brandy Melville people have been fantastic. So anybody who watches that stupid movie, Brandy Melville, and thinks that the Brandy Melville people are bad, they've been great. The Brandy Melville people have been super great to my daughter. So shout out to Brandy Melville. Thank you.
They're really nice folks. Treated me nice in Santa Monica. So, and which you don't see every day in the music business. So, clothing / music business now, I guess. So, Peter, I don't know how your voice is on the edge here, and I think maybe pushing it. Do you want to wrap?
No, I want to go back to finishing my tweet, and then I want to ask the people who are watching this to do stuff like supporting the channel is great. Sending us buy me a coffee is great, but I want people. I want people to help me with something because I don't have time to do it. This is the work that I do. And I think that one of the things that I've learned from you, George, is that we've got a really smart audience.
Yes.
And if we give them things to do, they'll go try to figure things out. So I will tell them the dots that I'm trying to connect. And if they can go read the documents and start trying to connect the dots, then I think then we can link the means, the motive, and the opportunity back to the suspects and see whether or not we can figure out a way to get somebody to pay attention, because I don't want to be Danny Casolaro, right? I don't want to be George Webb screaming 60 years later about what are the guys at the JFK assassination? What are their names? The
three tramps.
The aerospace guy with his kids.
Oh, I.B. Hale and
I.B. Hale. I don't want to be right 60 years from now. I want to be right now.
Peter, just let me show you really quickly. This is the guy who they arrested with the blowtorch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the video. That's the video.
Yeah, that's the video. You want to send me a link and I'll put it up?
Sure.
The stuff that I bookmark, I wonder. It disappears.
Amber Connor, she'll help research.
Copy link. Okay. I'm gonna message it to you, or
you could send any way you send it, I'll find it.
Okay. Let's do that, because not that we're trying to say somebody's guilty who isn't, but he had a blowtorch in his hand, and that's just not a fire extinguisher. Those are two different things, and you don't carry, even if it is a joke, that's a very bad joke to start carrying a blowtorch around a neighborhood where everybody just lost their house.
Yeah, let me see if I can copy this and then paste this, because when I click on these links, they automatically open in the X app, and I should probably just get rid of that app on my share this tab instead. Okay, because then I have this, and I don't have that in the X tab. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to add to stage, and then I'm going to go back here and blow this up and turn on the audio. Oh, it doesn't have audio. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so this, if I blow this up, I might be able to read the street sign. Hang on a second. And I hate when people do things like this, because they edit it, and I'd rather see the raw video. But let me see if I can blow this up. Can we blow it up? Okay, we can't. It doesn't seem to be able to blow it up. I'm going to see what Arcos Drive. Okay, Arcos Drive. I lived in Woodland Hills. I believe Arcos Drive is in Woodland Hills. I do not believe this is in the Palisades. So let's start there.
There is fire in Woodland Hills.
Yeah, and there was a fire in Woodland Hills. Okay, so I'm not saying it, but if this is the means motive, so he's got a bike and a blowtorch. Okay, and he's dressed in black. Okay, and I don't know if he's Mexican or Middle Eastern. Okay, but this is Arcos Drive, and somebody can go look up where Arcos Drive is in Los Angeles. I grew up in Woodland Hills. I think Arcos is in Woodland Hills. So I'm going to start the video here. So the guy on the left, like I said, he's dressed. He looks Middle Eastern. He doesn't look Mexican to me. He's dressed all in black, and he's on a bike, and he's got a blowtorch. So I'll play that. And the neighbors allegedly caught him. Now, again, looking at the metadata, an Iranian starting the fires would be a perfect cover story for starting World War III and rebuilding a smart city in Los Angeles. Okay, that would be a perfect setup. Okay, and what they found out when they came out after 9/11, and they said that it was Osama bin Laden 5 minutes after the planes hit the buildings. Maybe what they've learned is that we can't tell people it was the Iranians for another week or two, right? And maybe this whole video is a school play. So I'm just going to put that out there. I don't know if this is true. This may be a school play. Okay, so there's an edit there. And the neighbors are mad. And the neighbors are all white. So it's the three white guys who are Yeah, this guy looks Iranian. Okay, now they put him down. And apparently the police come up and they take him away, and we don't know exactly what happened to him. All right. So we need to know what happened to the guy who got arrested on Arcos and what his name is, and whether his name is Hernandez or Al-Fidi.
People are saying he was released.
I've heard that. I don't know if it's true.
Right. Show me the court docs. This is like Harry. This is like a Harry thing, right?
It would be just in really poor taste to carry a blowtorch through a neighborhood where there was a fire. You're trying to goad people, basically. If you're not setting fires, you're just trying to goad people.
Again, this looks like a school play to me.
Yeah, it sure does.
So I'm glad that we've looked at this many times.
Yeah, it just seems way too much evidence too fast.
Yeah, so let's wait and see if they blame the Iranians for the fires in the Pacific, all over Los Angeles. They'll say Trump will say this is an act of war. Okay, and then all of you Trump supporters, okay, if this doesn't happen, I apologize up front. Okay, but if Trump says this is an act of war and then starts sending Marines over to fight the Iranians because they lit Los Angeles on fire, and Nick Berggruen and now there's also this hair pulling going back and forth between Caruso and Karen Bass, because, and I'll go to my chart now so I can show you I'll show you what I'm researching and what I need help with. So I'm going to take this off. I'll take this off and stop this and then go back to my chart.
And people are saying, I don't think Trump will do that. I mean, Trump really has just said, I'll give you water in the millions of gallons. So, I mean, Gavin Newsom just said, no, I don't want it. So, yeah,
Trump said he wasn't going to bomb Syria either. And he sent, he shot cruise missiles in there.
But it wasn't a big 20-year war. It was blew up some, runways, right? So jets couldn't take off. Yeah.
Well, again, I think a lot of what's going on in Iran and China are just school plays, North Korea. Okay, so I've got Nick Berggruen, and I've got all of the people that these are pictures that he's posted. So just to kind of like go around, okay, all the usual suspects for every conspiracy theorist, right? There he is with Pope Francis. Okay.
Oh, share your screen, Peter.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm glad that you're telling me that, because I'm flying blind. I'm on instruments. Okay, here we go. So I'll go back to that. And where is the tab? It should have a TV on it. There we go. All right. So here he is. So he's friends with Pope Francis. Okay. Get rid of this, Peter. J.J. Abrams. Nathan Gardells is his partner at the Berggruen Institute. He's buddies with Reid Hoffman. He's buddies with Jerry Brown, Patrick Soon Schwang, his buddy. Okay, so Soon Schwang owns the Los Angeles Times, so I'm sure he's going to cover all the stories that we're talking about right now. Lawrence Bender, an old friend of mine, was the executive producer of most of Quentin Tarantino's big hits. Justin Trudeau, Arnold Schwarzenegger. There he is with Henry Kissinger, Eric Schmidt, Naomi Campbell, who's a supermodel and was also Jeffrey Epstein associate. There he is with Eric Garcetti. Eric Garcetti, who announced, I found a quote from Eric Garcetti where he announced that California was going to be, or Los Angeles was going to be a driver-free city by 2030. I think that's the quote. Again, burning down all the houses and turning it into a smart city would be in line with what Eric Garcetti is talking about.
Mm-hmm. He also talked about fires and how about that they're just going to burn.
Yeah.
Like he kind of let something slip a little early.
Yeah, there's a movie to be made here. He said that what the citizens of Los Angeles don't understand is that every once in a while, Mother Nature just wins. And I'm just thinking, yeah, that's a legitimate excuse that any
Psychopath.
any psychopath who's in charge of cover stories might say. There he is with Jacinda Ardern. Here he is with Elon Musk. Here he is with Elon Musk, Lawrence Bender, and this is Bobby Kotick, who was the CEO of Activision. And I don't know who this guy is on the end. I'd like to know who he is. So
Can I say something about this picture?
Sure.
They were celebrating superchargers. This was V3 when Musk came out with. You see how much younger he looked in 2019. And at that time, Musk was still very much in this. California should be all electrical vehicles, and he was still very liberal. And since he was also hanging around with what's his name from Bezos, and now he's really distanced himself from Berggruen. And I've had people, make this connection, but this is the last time they were pictured together in 2019. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Again,
I do think that there is an overlap here to planning these cities of the future and 15-minute cities with EVs, where if they think Berggrun's a billionaire and he's going to throw, and Musk's, remember 2019, the stock it did a 10,000 to 1 appreciation since 2019. He thought he might have been out of business in 2019, if you remember, or maybe it was 2016. But things may have changed a little bit since then. But there's Gavin Newsom. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's Gavin. Yeah, now here he is with Gavin Newsom and Barack Obama. And there's videos with him and Jane Fonda, Claudia Schiffer, another supermodel, German supermodel. Maybe Frau Hodel can look into that. So yeah, and there's lots of pictures of him and Gavin Newsom. And what I like about this, I want to start calling him Farquaad, because when I look at this picture, I just think of Farquaad in Shrek. Did you ever see Shrek?
Yeah, but I don't know who Farquaad is.
Farquaad was the king, who's like he's so
Lord. He's the Lord.
He's the Lord.
Okay.
He's the midget lord of the kingdom. And
the princes.
Yeah, so I mean,
I've stood up next to Gavin Newsom many times, and I'm much, much taller than Gavin Newsom. He's only about 6 feet tall.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, is Berggruen like 5 feet tall? Like it's like, does he have a little?
Is probably like 5'6", it looks like.
Anyway, I have scapegoats here, and I'll get to what I'm trying to do here in 1 second. And the scapegoats that I have are Karen Bass, Christine Larson, okay, and Gavin Newsom. And I think that these are the scapegoats. And what a lot of people don't understand about scapegoats is that scapegoats are always in pairs. And the biblical idea of a scapegoat is that you kill one goat so that the other one can go free. The sins of one are accepted by the other. And so I do not think that it is a coincidence that we have a Black woman mayor and a gay woman fire chief, okay, who have been targeted. They've been placed in those positions, okay, and I believe that they've been placed in those positions by an oligarchy, so by somebody like Nicholas Berggruen, pressuring politicians, okay, to put people who are functionally inept into those positions, so that when they burn the town down, they have somebody to blame that everybody will accept. Go, oh yeah, that these people are completely incompetent because they're a lesbian, or they're completely incompetent because they're a woman, or they're completely incompetent because they're Black. These are the tropes, right? These are the tropes that you use in order to get everybody to buy the idea that Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman. Okay, this is casting. Like, if you were casting a movie, you couldn't do a better job of casting two better scapegoats than Karen Bass and Christine Larson. So that's what I'm looking at. So what do I want the audience to help me with? Let me show you. Focus. Clear focus. Nicholas Berggruen. Nicholas Berggruen has plans, and if you, I will share this in a tweet after the show. But if you go to the Berggruen Institute link on here, it isn't the Berggruen Institute. Maybe it's the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy. Let's see what that looks like. Here we go. If you go to the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, and I haven't posted this yet, but I'll post it after the video. Okay, you will see all of the documents with the Berggruen Institute, all the public documents that I could find so far of the Berggruen Institute and the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, because it was my contention, and I could be wrong. Okay, I'm open to being wrong on all this. This is a working theory that the Berggruen Institute got some kind of an easement from the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy to build the Berggruen Institute. That's never happened in 40 years. And that'll lead me to something else. These are all the documents from the hearings that they had for preparing the land for the Berggruen Institute. Okay. And then I have a bunch of fiscal Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy annual reports. I got all the links. I haven't had a chance to go look at them yet. What's really interesting is that there's a name that's missing off of all of these documents that I found so far. And the name that's missing is this guy, Joe T. Edmonston. Joe T. Edmonston was, and I probably have a picture of him, but I'm not going to confuse myself. Joseph T. Edmonston was the original director of the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and has been there since Jerry Brown appointed him 40 years ago. I think he's been there for 41 years. Okay, so this guy is key. And what's really interesting is that when I started to go research him, I realized that I've seen him 100 times, because at one point there were some kids at the end of the street, George, and they built a BMX park. They went down to the bluffs with shovels, and they built themselves ramps and stuff like that. And they were down there. And as a joke, you could go into Google and set up a business in Google in like 5 minutes. And I set up so that it will show up on Google Maps. I called it the Palisades Bluff BMX Park. And so when you were using Google Maps and you went to when you went to looked on Google Maps, it said Palisades Bluffs BMX Park. Well, Joseph T. Edmonston came down there personally with a couple of rangers, and they destroyed the kids' BMX park. So, but I always thought that this guy was just a ranger, because one thing I noticed about him was that he always drives a big pickup truck that says Ranger on the side of it, and he is always armed. This guy's always armed, and whenever I've seen him, so he's not like a nerd in a suit. Although there's pictures of him nerd in a suit. Okay, so there is some kind of connection between Nicholas Berggruen, okay, the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy. And why is that important? Because the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, as we started on the show, surrounds all of the areas that are burned. And it is my contention, I can be wrong, okay, that in the next 3 months or 6 months or maybe 2 days, that politicians are going to start floating the idea that it's not safe to rebuild in some of these areas, that firefighters simply don't have the ability to fight Mother Nature, and that we have to turn all of this stuff back to Mother Nature, except for the places near where I used to live, George, which they'll figure out a way to make safe, and there'll only be a few parcels that they'll sell to billionaires.
I think there's going to be a Trump hotel and golf course.
You think a Trump hotel and golf course?
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that would be Trump's payoff, right? Okay.
It looked good.
Anyway, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm looking for connections between Nicholas Berggruen, okay,
okay, go ahead.
the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, Joseph T. Edmonston, okay, and then what else? There's probably some obvious things that I'm looking for, but any of this cast of characters too, if they have anything to do with the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, because, playing devil's advocate, let's say Joseph T. Evanston is he's a true believer ecologist, and he doesn't like rich people, and that's why he wears the Ranger uniform all the time. And then he really thinks that the Pacific Palisades should just be a big park. And that's the way that he really believes. He may just be an asset, who knows? I don't know. But I'm looking for ways to connect Berggruen to the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy and to any people that might benefit. So if we go to the Berggruen Institute for a second, the Berggruen Institute, they have programs. I've only put 2 up. They've got a dozen programs. Okay. And maybe I'll just change to the Berggruen Institute here for a second. Let's do this.
A lot of the Berggruen Institute in Los Angeles is an outreach to youth in Los Angeles. And this kind of reminds me of Barack Obama getting all the, the core workers, going from house to house to check,
Well, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Giuseppe Manzini. Because Giuseppe, this is, again, if you haven't watched or listened to the Palmerston Zoo podcast on the Duke Report, I highly recommend it. In fact, it's almost impossible to understand all of these things without understanding how Venice and Berggruen just opened a new office in Venice on the canals. Okay. This is Venetian. This is totally Venetian, what's going on now. And if you don't understand Venice and how Venice fits into this, then you're kind of at a loss. It's like trying to run a race with one leg. So the Berggruen Institute, one of the things that was perfected by the Venetian British Empire that is now taken over City of London and Wall Street, is young revolutionary movements. And so if you go to projects on the Berggruen Institute, and let's see, wait, I went to the wrong thing. Wait, Berggruen. Are you seeing the projects? Our projects? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay, they have all these projects. Okay. And believe me, this guy is not I'm trying to think of a smart guy. He's not Glenn Greenwald. Let's just say Nicholas Berggruen. When he talks, he's got a whole YouTube channel, and you can listen to his Stuart Smalley platitudes where he pauses. He kind of acts like he's on mushrooms or SSRIs or something. I don't know. He may be just an MK Ultra cutout, robot. But anyway, he's got all these programs, Co-Becoming, Geophilosophy of Europe, Planetary Summit, China, Europe Residency Program. The ones that I've been looking at have been the Democracy Odyssey, the 2024 Governance Index, Democracy Challenged, and then this thing, Deliberative Democracy. I've been on a few of their Zoom calls, and here's my analysis of it. In one of the arguments that communists or socialists make about communism is that there's nothing wrong with communism. We've just never done it right. Right? That's an argument that you hear. And I believe that this Berggruen approach is that there's nothing wrong with democracy. We've just never done it right. And so they have all of these different programs going for reimagining what democracy is. And Berggruen's got a book that he wrote. I don't know if he wrote it. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. If somebody wants to read that book and give me a summary, that would be great. Anyway, it is so the way that I tweeted about this is this, and I'll go back to here, share this tab instead. What I said is, of course, in order to build this, I said, curiously, it's nearly identical. It nearly identically matches the Los Angeles Fire Department damage assessment satellite video. Of course, you need to have solutions ready to go in a Hegelian problem reaction solution framework. And so I linked to a video calling Presenting Sense LA, a program to creatively harness the power of collective intelligence. And again, if you watch these videos, they're filled with what this is a term of art, baffle gab. Okay. It's linguistic nonsense. It's a string of cause effect complex equivalencies that are meaningless. It's people saying meaningless stuff with music and great photography, but it doesn't mean anything. And it's designed to make people who aren't paying attention feel like they're listening to smart people. None of these people are smart. They're not smart. They give them awards. There's a Berggruen award show everywhere, and they give these people awards. These people aren't that smart, okay? They want you to, they're selling the whole idea that these people are smarter than you because you're not applying your logos. And the way that we get around this is critical thinking, using our logos. So the end of the last tweet is that actually it's the second last. You might also have to completely reimagine, I put this in, fake democracy, to rig the system enough to fool people into accepting it. So if you go and you look at this Berggruen Institute democracy thing, they want to recreate Robespierre's Committee on Public Safety. Okay, that's the plan. Okay, they want to demonstrate, they want to use the fires in order to demonstrate that the city of Los Angeles government is completely inept. That's the purpose of Karen Bass being there. That's the purpose of Karen Bass being completely inept. And then they want to suggest, perhaps not so gently, perhaps using a Black Lives Matter methodology like they did during those riots, to pressure the city of Los Angeles, or maybe the county board of supervisors, into trying this new Nicholas Berggruen style of democracy in Los Angeles. And then they'll decide, having people live in the Santa Monica Mountains is a bad idea. We've already started building these 4-story brutalist buildings all along Santa Monica Boulevard in Santa Monica that nobody would want to live in because they're so fucking ugly. Okay. But if you tell all of the people who live in the Santa Monica Mountains they can't live there anymore, they might not have a choice. And if you tell them that it's because the democracy said that they had to, then that's what they're going to do. So I think they're going to get rid of one fake democracy. They're going to replace it with another fake democracy that they have better control over. And the Berggruen Institute is they're at the center of this whole thing. Okay. All these programs are all designed to do all of this stuff. So we need to find direct connections between who are the contractors that the Berggruen Institute is hiring, and then what are their relationships with the people who are going to get contracts from the city of Los Angeles in order to envision this new smart city of Los Angeles. Because to me, this looks like a giant self-licking ice cream cone. I'm done.
Well, speaking of self-licking ice cream cones, that was a favorite expression of our good friend, Dr. Hamamoto, who is a tenured professor at University of California, PhD in cultural studies, modern cultural studies. He's in the chat, and he's made many connections to Berggruen, to the Catholic community, which can be an energized community, activated community, especially speaking to the 5 million Hispanic constituents of Los Angeles. I think, this sort of La Raza, or some type of, like you said, Peter, using a political lever arm to kind of put to the head of the mayor of Los Angeles. It's not just one blowtorch, it's 5 million blowtorches, so Los Angeles has always had this kind of uneasy, queasy, powder keg situation that always could blow up, the Rodney King type situation that is ever present. People remember that still, even though it was 30 years ago, people still remember that. And I think this Berggruen thing is an appeal, maybe not to blacks, but to potentially maybe the Hispanic community through the Catholic Church. I'm not sure, but Dr. Hamamoto's put a lot of evidence here that shows the Catholic Church connections.
Yeah, Drew Black says tiny house minimalists have prepared for the minds of Gen Z. Not only that, so my brother and ex-wife own condos. I got off the phone with another friend of mine today. People who live in condominiums, the outside of the building is fully insured, but the individual homeowners are responsible for rebuilding the inside of their condo. The most condo owners are underinsured to build the interior, and that wouldn't normally be a problem, except that they still have to pay. It was heartbreaking. Jessica and I were in the room with my ex-wife when she found out. She didn't know this, that when your house burns down, you still have to pay the mortgage, you know, and you have to pay the mortgage at the same time that you're trying to rebuild your house. And there's a certain amount of money that the insurance company gives you to, what's it called? Relocation, relocation money. But a lot of people aren't going to be able to swing it, you know. And at that point, you know, I said to my ex-wife, I said, you might have to put prefab houses down instead. You know, you might have to figure out a way to work with the money that you've got, and you may not have a 2,500 square foot condo there anymore. You know, you may have a 1,600 square foot house. But she didn't even want to hear that. But you know, I don't know what that situation is. You know.
Well, that's got to be. I mean, I've been to her house and your house. And that would be shocking. And you were like me, you wanted your child to have the house. And
Right.
So you kind of pushed it over to her, and that really is a double whammy for you.
And the other thing too is that your taxes, if you don't rebuild within 2 years, your taxes get reassessed.
Yeah.
Well, so there's all kinds of, and I believe all of this land is within the scope of the California Coastal Commission. And the California Coastal Commission can make your life a living hell if you're trying to build something on the coast of California. So the California Coastal Commission could delay people's permits to the point where they all have to reassess their taxes. Okay.
And if people don't pay the mortgage, I just want to reinforce because I see people ask the question, the bank can foreclose. They don't have a house to foreclose, but they can foreclose on the land.
Yep.
And in some cases,
that's what they want.
The land is worth more than the house in some of these properties.
Well, it's crazy, but the Pacific Palisades is worth way much more now than it was a week ago. Because it's
for a China
lots.
Well, in a China type buyer, I just believe Nicholas Berggruen is just a front man for the CCP, or high level dignitaries in the CCP, not the run-in, but they have the kind of money that they could come in and have 100 party members or 1,000 party members with nice houses.
I want her to tell a story because again, I was one of the things that happens when you're a photographer is that you know how you watch TV and you lose track of the world. When you have your camera up to your eye, that same thing happens. And I don't know if I was coping or I was in shock, but the few other people that we saw, I kind of like just tuned out because I was shooting pictures of the burning houses, right? And the guy came up to me who saved his house, and I had a short conversation with him. I should have pulled my camera out, my phone out, and done a whole interview with him, right? I'm kind of glad that I did. I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because the reason I'm coughing right now is because I was out there. I was out there doing it, but she told me that there was 2 other people that she saw walking around. Tell me about those people.
Walking. They were in a vehicle. They were in an SUV. They were both very Chinese looking. They looked rather nerdy. They had little masks on, just paper ones. And they were surveying. They were checking it out. They weren't upset. They weren't residents. They were from far away. They were sent there to check it out, and that's what they were doing.
There was
the next morning.
Yeah, we're talking about we had to use our press passes, and there were no other human beings except the guy who saved his house and these two other people.
And there is a rumor that Xi has inside the Communist Party every house in America, not just Pacific Palisades, but every house in America has been promised to a party member. It can't be true, but I could see Pacific Palisades because, okay, if you don't want to give us Taiwan, give us Pacific Palisades or whatever for payment of debt. Hey, it's not our property. We're giving away Peter Duke's property. So let's just broker this thing off. Some kind of underhanded deal is behind this in big numbers, like you say, not maybe quadrillions, but like $1 trillion, a lot of money. It's a big real estate deal here.
Yeah, this is a real estate deal. Somebody said Jessica's healthy lungs. She didn't get out of the car.
Well, not much.
Well, not much. And yeah, not much. Not like I did. I was running, like, because there were so many power lines down that I couldn't get the vehicle close to the place I wanted to shoot. So I jump out of the car and run around the power lines and go do that stuff.
By the way, vanity here, the name should be Schadenfreude. And this is a person who enjoys people suffering. So you might want to delete some of the comments if you see those earlier.
All right.
But I mean, you know, just the whole idea of
Schadenfreude is not appreciated. I've been like, if you think you're going to be funny on my comments after this, like, you check yourself before you wreck yourself. I will just ban you.
These are just trolls. But moving on to the Berggruen and the next steps, I think a lot of people are already interviewing. People remember now. I put out a couple Substacks to kind of recap some of the deep dives we did. Dr. Sun Shang's another great lead because he's got the CIA connection. When we were down in San Diego, we did the one up in by the Salk Institute, and then we did another Learning Man down by the.
Chuck told me that Sun Shuang is a good guy. He's one of us. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Within the last week, yeah.
I don't know who us is, but that's what Chuck said.
Yeah, well, and within the last week, I think they all know that, hey, Trump's coming in and we're all going to, you know, I'd rather be a part of the Trump administration than be, you know, investigated. But I mean, he was one of the biggest proponents. You remember this, Peter, of the shot. He wanted people to get coronavirus shots way after it was like, you know, less than 25% of the folks wanted it. He was the one who profiteered off Immunity Bio. He was in the business with Brennan of the CIA. He's the one who built a 1 billion vaccine factory in South Africa for the subjugation and domination of Africa. So he you know, he's tried everything, you know, but you know, maybe he's turning a new leaf. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
One tip that I can give people, and I'll have to go find it. Alison McDowell has done a ton of research on Berggruen. And she calls me names on her channel. I don't call her names. I think she does good work, but her work is dense. Okay, it's really dense, and she goes really deep on a lot of stuff. And I think that we need to just kind of concentrate on metadata and try to figure out a way to connect Berggruen to the contractors that are going to get rewarded. Okay, for the smart cities that are going to be built. Okay, because that's the quid pro quo. That's the antithesis. That's the synthesis. So the fire is the thesis. The reaction is the antithesis. And I'm doing this. I know there's a picture I have of Nicholas Berggruen doing this, and he says it's all about water. Anyway, he's saying it's all about water, and the Palisades burned down because there's no water. Like, how ironic is that?
That's a lie. We have the ocean.
Well, we had we talked about Chinatown. I had a series called High Noon at Chinatown because of this is just Chinatown all over again.
It is Chinatown, and you know, Jessica brought this up. It's like we're next to the ocean. Why do we even have to use the fresh water system to power the fire hydrants? Why do we? You know, the reason reservoirs get covered is because they have drinking water in them, and it's like, If you don't need to cover them if they're filled with salt water. Why don't you just fill them up with salt water? You can pump them right out of the ocean.
You still don't need to cover it if you're not drinking it.
And you won't be using the water that everybody uses to drink. Like, how stupid is that?
Yeah, and to have it 10 months, especially during wildfire season, and plus we have video from a November 8th fire where the guy said, "Hey, this is fire season, November. Why is it empty?" And then another fire on the 15th of November. You mentioned the fire on the 1st of January.
Same area.
Yeah. So there was plenty of red flags here to get ready, and they didn't get ready. And I agree with Jessica that salt water is just as fine as any.
She said, or maybe they did.
Yeah. Maybe it was a controlled burn. And this was, I've seen the same things. If you look at they have a thinking committee. It's called Thinking Long. Berggruen has a thing called Thinking Long.
That's what I wanted to show. I wanted to keep going. I want to show you this paper.
Well, if you look at who's on that, Eric Schmidt and Google and various.
Yeah, here's another thing that, again, I think Allison has done work on this. I think there's other people who have done work on this. The Blueprint to Renew California. This is 10 years old. Eric Schmidt is on this. What's his name? The last mayor, Garcetti, is on this. Berggruen Institute. But this is a whole plan, and this lays out the whole Hegelian dialectic, okay, of how California is broke. And here's the thing. They claim that California is broken because we have this thing called a proposition. So in California, if the elected officials don't want to take the risk of not getting reelected, they can kick the can down to the voters and have them vote for things, and that way the voters can take responsibility for things that the elected officials don't want to take responsibility for. And that's called propositions. So in California, a majority of voters voted to define marriage as between a man and a woman. Okay. Well, that didn't work for the globalists. So they had to go to the courts and have it kicked out. But the majority of voters in California voted for marriage being between a man and a woman. 4 years ago, we voted to get rid of daylight savings time. So every year, every 6 months, when I have to change my clocks back and forth, I asked the question, why do I have to do this? Because 4 years ago, I voted. That's when I used to believe in voting, to get rid of this. And the reason is because the legislature just completely ignores it. So the fact that they're claiming that the proposition process in California is why the democracy is broken is bullshit. It's a cause-effect complex equivalency. It's just nonsense. Okay, so when I read this with all of these illustrious names, Nicholas Berggruen, the Honorable Willie Brown, receiver of a Kamala Harris blowjob, Gray Davis, who was cast out of office. I don't know who some of these other people are. Maybe you can recognize their names. The Honorable Robert Hertzberg. Hertzberg seems to be a key guy in the legislature who's the kind of macher who's doing things for Berggruen up in the legislature. Maybe we could dig deep on him. Condoleezza Rice, the head of the Hoover Institute, which is the limited hangout institute at Stanford. Eric Schmidt, Terry Semel, who used to be the president of Yahoo. George Shultz, who's in every dirty deal that's been done in the last 5 decades. And somebody named Laura DeAndrea Tyson. I don't know who she is. Anyway, if you dig into this, you'll empowering local government. What they want to do is they want to create city states. They think California is too big. They think the United States is too big. They want to break everything up into fiefdoms, into feudal lord ruled little.
Venice is so great.
It's what?
That's why Venice and London are so great.
That's why Venice and London is so great, right? So
can I just say that I think the model here for Berggruen Institute.
I'm going through the whole thing, and you didn't tell me I wasn't on the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the audio is
all right.
Let me just say that the model here is the fall or the transition for Hong Kong going over to the CCP, and then the great flight of all the Chinese folks from Hong Kong to Vancouver, British Columbia. And the Hong Kongization of Vancouver, BC is, I think, what they want for Southern California, because the real estate developers there, everybody wins in that situation. The tax base goes up. You provide a lot of real estate for a lot of people with a lot of money, right? Nicholas Berggruen doesn't care that a lot of people made money in the 20s and 30s and 40s building these, Dust Bowl housing, right? He doesn't make any money on that. Where he makes some money as a developer in the transaction is selling this to Chinese and selling it to high-rise Chinese, right? Like they did in Vancouver. Vancouver totally changed to a half Chinese city almost in less than 10 years. And the reason why I say that's the model here, and they could use the 2028 Olympics as sort of an outreach or a friendship kind of plan. And then what's left? All of the high rises that are in Vancouver right now. And if you look at this blueprint, it looks just like the city of Vancouver, right? When you read this blueprint, everybody can walk to get their chop suey and everybody, they don't even say hamburger, it's always Chinese meals, there's sweet and sour chicken there, kung pao chicken. If this to me seems like the Vancouver or the Hong Kongification of Vancouver.
Well, what was the deal that I said to you earlier that I thought that they made, that somebody made? Oh, I know. Okay, this is hypothetical. I'm not saying this happened. Okay, this is a working theory that Berggruen says to Edmonston, "You give me the 44 acres."
Oh, Edmonston is the head of
Edmonston is the head of the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. The Berggruen says to Edmonston, "You give me the 44 acres, I'll give you the Palisades." Okay. I can see that makes sense to me. I don't know that Edmonston has that much power. Maybe he said it to Jerry Brown, and Jerry Brown told Edmonston that was the deal. Who knows? I don't know.
There's a before and after picture of Vancouver, BC, after the fall, quote unquote, fall of Hong Kong. And it's an eye opener what happened, because there were people that were buying 800, 600, 700 square foot condos for $1 million a pop. This is 30 years ago. And they weren't even living in them. Just on speculation, they were buying these things. And that's a lot of money, right? And the footprint for your house isn't much bigger, right? You got to have parking. So they're going to build a big underground parking garage, right? But,
or a little one for little electric cars. If it's a 15-minute city, everybody will be driving golf carts in the Palisades.
But go down, and I walked this all the way from Santa Monica Pier all the way up to your house. Look at those high rises that are along Ocean Boulevard that they put in. You think, oh, they'll never.
They look like concrete bunkers with windows.
Oh, I know, but Nicholas Berggruen doesn't care about that. And what Nicholas Berggruen cares about, and City of Los Angeles care about, is density, right? And they put those things right along Ocean Avenue, and they blocked everybody's view, and everybody said that never would happen.
How do I get rid of this person?
Make yourself big for a second. I'm going to take a break quick.
All right, remove George.
No.
Wait.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. I can go back to this. Where's Vanity Fryer 1988? If I had a way to understand how to get rid of people on X, I would just ban you. I'm going to do that after this show. Go fuck yourself. Okay? Go fuck yourself. Where am I going? I want to go show Berggruen. Share this tab instead. If I do this, because I don't have two monitors, I won't be able to know when George wants to come back. All right. Oh, really? Yeah. Whatever. I shouldn't get distracted by those idiots. All right, here we go. So these are all these. Okay, so news and events. So he's doing something in China. He's got this planetary summit. Again, he thinks that the Trilateral Commission is done, and he wants to be the new Trilateral Commission, which makes me think he's a front for the Rockefeller Rothschild cartel, whatever. I don't think the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are at the top. I do think that they are the bankers for the people who are in control. Planetary realism. It's all, again, all this stuff is baffle gap. Okay. And what I mean by it's lots of words that don't mean anything. Okay. You read this stuff and you think, oh, you must have to be really smart to understand this stuff. And then you take it into GPT. Do this as an experiment. Try to read it. Okay. If you can't really understand it, drop it into GPT and have it explain it to you like you're a 12-year-old. You can do that. And when you have it explained to you like you're a 12-year-old, you'll think, oh, a 12-year-old wrote this. Okay. Because none of this stuff, it's all baffle gap. Okay. And it's all designed, this entire website is designed to make people who are not using their critical thinking skills to think that the people who are running the Berggruen Institute are smarter than you are. And they're not. Okay. They call themselves philosophers. They're not. Okay. They're bullshit artists. That's all they are. And we need to just like cut to the chase, start applying our critical thinking skills and understand that this entire thing is Joseph Goebbels level nonsense. End of screed. Let me go back and see if George is back. He's not back. Any questions from anybody who's not a troll?
George is back.
George is back. Here we go. George is back, and I'm going to get rid of this. All right. Let's see. Unmute mic. George is muted. You're muted, George. La-di-da, la-di-da.
Sorry about that. I had to reposition here.
That's okay. I was just going. I don't know if you heard my screed, but I
heard part of it.
I was talking about how I've read a bunch of those articles on the Berggruen website, and they're baffle gap, which means they are designed to. It's this classic like Rhodes Scholar nonsense. Okay, where you're blowing soap bubbles up people's ass. Okay, using $3 words and these kind of big arm waving, amorphous, non-specific ideas that people are going, oh, gee, Nikki, you're such a genius. You're so smart. I just want to pat your little head. You know, it's like he's a billionaire. Okay. It's like they just want his money. And so he's got all of these people writing all of this fucking nonsense. And they have this beautiful website. Okay, that makes the nonsense look so smart that if you're a normal person and you're looking at that, you go, boy, this is over my head. It's not over your head. It's just bullshit.
I think, what you said before about the unholy deal between the conservationists and Berggruen and the developers, I think is the end game, because it couldn't happen with one or the other. One could stop the other one, right? It couldn't be all, just thrown to conservation, because you'd have all these lawsuits of people and their property rights. And it couldn't be just the developers, because the conservationists always could stop it. But there always is the possibility of an unholy agreement. And if you look in how many shows did we do looking down into your canyon, and then to Temascal Canyon, right to the next 100. Right? That's a 200-foot drop off that bluff, something like that. That's 20. How many 20-story buildings is that? And 40. They could put a ton of 40 of just in that revetment.
Right. And they'll use the fact that they need to shore up the bluffs there. Everybody will get a beachfront thing. There'll be little bridges that go over the Pacific Coast Highway. There'll be an electric train.
A boring machine, train going up and down Ocean Boulevard, the PCH, is a no-brainer, right? And
I wouldn't bore in that neighborhood. It's always moving. But there were a couple of questions. Jason Brown asked the wrong question. Okay, Jansen Brown, has there been any further information released about the repair of the problems with the water reservoir? My answer is it doesn't matter. It was empty. Okay. So they're going to come up with a whole list of excuses. And instead of asking, is there further information released? What we need to do is that we need to take the person who's responsible down to Guantanamo and waterboard them until they tell us who told them that reservoir better be empty. Okay? Because that's the only way that you're going to find out what happens.
That can't be the only way.
That can't be the only way.
That's not really available to us.
My wife is stopping me from using universal quantifiers, and I love her for that. Okay.
We can't take anyone to Guantanamo, but I think we can apply pressure on them and make them feel some uncomfortableness. Maybe
she's the reasonable one. Anyway,
so just kind of like, okay, can we do the pivot to looking forward in the near term?
Sure.
Okay. Which is, okay, we can be, we've run the pessimistic route here, and it's going to be all Trump hotels, okay. So let's look at a positive potential. And my point is, and I'm not even sure if this is good or not, but I just want to give a little bit of background and say Trump did come to California. He did do one development. It's in Palos Verdes. The thing was falling. The golf course was falling. The whole side of the mountain was falling into the ocean. And
have you heard what has happened in Rolling Hills?
No. Well, tell me if this is the correct encapsulation of what happened in PV and Palos Verdes, which is he shored it all up, spent a ton of money. It's now a big golf course, a big development. Of course, it's a Trump thing, but it put something there that wasn't there before. Before it was a horrible cliff falling into the ocean. But go ahead, say what happened at Rolling Hills.
In Rolling Hills, and if you Google this, there's an entire neighborhood that's kind of like my neighborhood, and it moved like 3.5 feet. And when it did move 3.5 feet's a lot, and it like cut all of the gas lines, all the water mains, all the sewer lines for a big zillion-dollar neighborhood. And it's all like
they red tagged it.
They basically like red tagged the whole neighborhood. So and again, I think they're probably going through the same thing that we are.
It's just a different way.
The city is not going to approve rebuilding there, and they're going to say this is so unstable, we should just turn this into a park and knock everything down. And we're building these ugly apartment buildings that you can move into down the street. Hang on.
Well, and let me just say the two other things so far. Trump went to Palos Verdes a couple of months ago and said, why are we dumping all this water into the sea? We should be putting it in our reservoirs. Never know when you're going to need it. That seems pretty prophetic right now, having water in the reservoir, 117 million gallon reservoir. And the other thing he said in 2019 was he was going to buy a big deal and fill all the reservoirs from Canada. And during the campaign, he said, my strategy is to take the farmers who are currently cultivating 1% of their land, who because of water restriction rights, and let them have 50 or 60 or 70%. Now, I don't know if they'll ever get that through the environmental.
Kennedy had a plan to ship water from Canada, where they have lots of water in the spring. And
Trump echoed that plan. Yeah.
And build canals from Canada all the way down to Mexico.
That's a good idea, because they have huge water runoff every year, and sometimes they have huge flooding. So I think that's a great idea.
All right.
So I'm just saying, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, look, Berggrun's got a plan. He's got it all laid out. It's going to be the 2028 Olympic Village. It's going to be, like you say, a monorail going up and down the PCH. It's going to, have 28 high rises for the athletes, in Temescal Canyon and Topanga Canyon, and probably all the way up to Malibu, right? And nobody's going to like it, right? But it's going to be all the fire areas, and it's going to look better, and it's going to get LA moving, right?
It'll put lots of brown people to work,
right? And I'm just thinking, I call it the Hong Kongization of LA, but I think I think that was the controlled burn. I think that was the reason why it happened. And Trump, I really don't think Trump has any power in California. The governor has so much power over the state. I mean, what are you going to cut off funds? There's no way. And part of the reason of doing this right before turning over the reins to Trump is he's got to give as much money as possible, and they can divert this money like crazy. The FEMA money, right? What are they going to do when we find somebody's diverting money? There's really no mechanism to enforce.
I'll tell you what you could do. If you had a functioning FBI, they'd be doing the work that I'm asking our researchers to do. Okay. And they would start identifying the smoking, the quid pro quo here and the cui bono. They'd be asking the right cui bono, which leads me into a segue into Garden Girl's question, which is, would it be worthwhile for the community members of the Palisades to form a group to push back against this land grab? The answer is yes, because one thing about the group of people that are disaffected, I have reached out. Because I am who I am, I'm 1 degree separated from James Woods. And I sent an email to my friend today saying, tell Jimmy, okay, that this is the guy who did it. And I want to talk to him about it. Okay. Because we need to be able to elevate the idea of this to the point where people are actually doing it. As long as they're blaming Karen Bass or getting involved in the hair pulling between Karen Bass and Rick Caruso, or trying to blame the lesbian head of the fire department who has no responsibility for fire hydrants that don't work. That's the DWP. Okay. It's going to be the Spider-Man meme where everybody's pointing at each other. Okay. And that's where everybody's attention is going to be focused. If we can get somebody with money to finance an investigation, right? And then to get celebrities to start elevating the signature of this idea, then maybe we have a chance to not be Danny Casolaro. Otherwise, I don't know. But I think it's a good idea. I did reach out to there are several wealthy people that I know in the Palisades who are reaching out to me and asking me what's going on. I'm trying to let them know we have to focus on the Berggruen Institute and that relationship with Gavin Newsom and expand it from there, because if we don't look up at the oligarchs, we're going to look down at the slaves, and the slaves are just scapegoats that are there to attract our attention. End of sermon.
Well, I do like the Elon Musk as the white knight in this scenario.
I know you do.
Well, Peter, you said somebody with money. Let's start with the richest guy in the world and work our way down.
Let's start with
exhaust our possibilities. Put it that way.
Let's start with somebody who doesn't have an interest in this going in. I would love my neighborhood to get rebuilt. Okay. And they're going to claim that it's not safe to rebuild it because look what happened. And it's like, yeah, whenever you have a fire department that doesn't have any water, all the houses burn down. So why don't we fix the water? Anyway.
Well, I heard you say, let's look at somebody with money and
not him.
Okay.
Somebody else.
Well,
somebody who's not owned by the World Economic Forum and the count. Here's the thing, George. Here's what I figured out. I've written about thalassocracy. I've written about tellurocracy. A thalassocracy is a group of oligarchs who are trying to control the world based on traffic going over oceans. A tellurocracy is a group of oligarchs that are trying to control the world by commerce that's going over land. We have a new ocracy, and I don't know what to call it, a cryptocracy or a technocracy or whatever it is, but you've got these Silicon Valley guys, and they kind of represent to me the same kind of thinking as Rockefeller when he was going up against the Rothschilds, right? And, but Rockefeller essentially is a cutout of the Rothschilds. So it's kind of like watching a Punch and Judy show. Now we've got three. We've got the land-based people, oligarchs. We've got the sea-based oligarchs. We have the technology-based oligarchs. Maybe soon we'll have the space-based oligarchs. Okay. But it's all they're all tugging for the same thing, and the people who lose are the people who are defined in the preamble of the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America and the Constitution of the United States. And those are the people who get left behind in all these solutions. So while Elon Musk is screaming about free speech, he's banning people all over the place. CJ Hopkins, okay? He's a complete fucking hypocrite. And the day that he stops being
Elon Musk is not CJ Hopkins.
I'm not CJ Hopkins. You're right. Elon Musk is a fucking hypocrite. And as soon as he stops being a fucking hypocrite, then I will support him. But he doesn't support free speech. He does not support free speech. He's a liar and a cutout.
Well, let's try it from a different angle then. Let's say take a Google Earth picture of exactly as everything was before the fires.
Why pick him?
No. I'm not picking Elon Musk. I dropped Elon Musk. You said no on Elon Musk. I'm saying take a picture of what the Palisades looked like before, and then start getting bids on who can rebuild it as close to that it was before. I'm certain they're going to make a few modifications in terms of fire codes and building materials and so forth, but you get the exact same footprint that you had before. And then let's see who can build it as fast as we can and get bidding going on who can do it. I don't know.
Said direct democracy would be the best for Mars. He's not going to Mars. He's building a space weapons platform called Mars. That's what he's doing. Anyway.
Well, you
don't allow free speech.
You're reading the comment from a person
from a troll.
Yeah. So, and by the way, free speech isn't free. My free speech cost me $750,000, and a U.S. senator took it away anyway.
It's free, actually.
Yeah, it's not free. Nothing is free.
There's a cost associated.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe this isn't the time. But let's do it again. Let's come back with the path forward. If Musk is out, if Trump is out, then we'll pick it up again. We'll put our thinking caps back on in terms of research. I think we have a whole bunch of people who already came there, voted with their feet. We're looking into the Berggruen Institute. We could do that again.
Yeah.
If we have another summit, a citizen journalism summit, come there, meet you. Maybe we'll have it in Marina del Rey on the dock. Maybe we'll all take a sail to Catalina because it's the only place we can still meet. Maybe that's what we need to do as a summit, where we all get all of our notebooks out and start looking at the Berggruen Institute,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So why don't we leave it there? Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. If people want to support us, they can go to the Duke Report. There's a link at the top of the page under the video, and it takes you right to our Buy Me a Coffee. For all the people that have been supporting us, thank you so much. I got to tell you, it is, you don't realize it until it happens to you. But when people start showing up and offering you places to live and sending you money and asking if what you can do. I did 2 Zoom calls yesterday or the day before. I did 2 Zoom calls, one with my family and one with the supporters, because I can't answer every text message and every direct message, but thank you for all the support that you've got. And if you want to support us some more, we're open to it. We're just trying to figure out, we'd like to get a place where we can continue doing journalism, maybe a place that's got in a better situation. We loved where we lived. Like, it makes us cry every time I went to the supermarket and I cried when I got to the spice section, because we had figured out every spice that we needed to make everything that we like to make. And now we have to do that over again. So, you walk through the store and you don't think, it's gonna, and it turns into some kind of traumatic experience. So anyway, you don't see that coming. There's things you don't see coming. Anyway, thank you. That's what
probably Marina del Rey. We'll come down to Marina del Rey. We'll do it there, and then we'll definitely have a sail out to Catalina. We'll work on the Suchir Balaji murder on the same trip. So Peter, thanks for inviting me and my audience out there. Thanks for coming. And please, as I said before, please buy a coffee here, 5 coffees, 10 coffees, whatever you can, and help Peter out and with Jessica.
I didn't answer that one question, and I would just want to do that before I
Sure.
leave. She said, would it be worthwhile? The answer is yes. So if you know anybody who lived in the Pacific Palisades, who got affected by this, send them this video, okay? Reach out to them and send them this video, because I want to get people who are rich, okay, who are wealthy, who have resources to be able to put back behind something like this, so that we can get attorneys and do all of the stuff that we need to do in order to really like do a real job. I know the journalists, I know the researchers, but all this stuff takes time and energy. And so if we could do that, that would be great. I'd really like to try to figure out a way to make this. I'm like a dog on a bone about this at this point.
Really, I mean, you could rent out the Hollywood Bowl, or, somebody should, I don't know, allow a stadium, and James Woods should be the first speaker. For me,
now there's a really nice amphitheater at the Getty Villa, which did not burn down.
Well, then Nicholas
I don't know if they'd like what I have to say.
Yeah, well, I think that's the first thing, is getting everybody together in a public forum and they're going to have to do a benefit concert sooner or later at the Hollywood Bowl, aren't they? Or what are they going to do for the Oscars? Are they going to just ignore this whole thing? Or is it going to be Jennifer Garner telling her story about her house burned down? And then, each Hollywood star is going to tell their story, right?
Like COVID.
They're going to blame it on Iran. And then they're going to be talking about how we need to go beat those people because they burned our houses down. That's what and Robert De Niro is going to get up and, do his thing, whatever. I don't know. It's all right.
Well,
quote Mel, I'm going to leave this with a Mel Brooks quote. The only thing to know is everything is showbiz. That's it. Thanks, everybody. George, this is the biggest show we've ever done. Maybe we should do it again at this time.
And my only request is for prayers. So that we have prayers.
Yeah.
Great request.
Yes. Pray.
Let's do in a couple of days, Peter, see how you're doing. Okay.
Okay. We're going to move on Thursday. So maybe on Friday.
Okay.
All
that
right.
Sounds good.
Okay. Great.
See you guys Friday.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Prayers to you.
Thank you very much.